Thank you one and all. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to our home, where I've lived for 41 years of my life and been joined by my dear and lovely wife for how many years? It's 37 years, and it's a bit different to when we first arrived, but here we are, and we've been working very hard to give my dear daughter a lovely day today. As I stand here reminiscing about our beautiful moments together, I can't help feel an overwhelming sense of pride for my daughter. From her first steps to her accomplishments, she has always radiated warmth and love. You are a delightful young lady, and I couldn't be prouder. Chris, you are a lucky man.
Izzy, yes. I knew she was a fantastic match for Chris when we played this brilliant game. A lot of you will know it, you'll be familiar with it. You take a name from a hat, and then you have rounds where you have to describe the name in more and more random and difficult settings. One of the ones on this weekend away was that you had to enter a bed sheet. You had to get inside a double bed sheet and then try and enact. And Izzy, with great aplomb, got into the bed sheet and try and enacted things like Donald Trump, J.K. Rowling, without the use of words. And I thought to myself, this girl is absurd. And that really works. That really works. And it's that mutual absurdity that is just so fantastic to see.
Now, since Caroline and I were married, traditions changed a bit, because it used to be that the uncle or good friend of the family gave a very witty and amusing speech. So I'm afraid now you've got to put up with me. Now, Isabel arrived. I call her Isabel, but she's known as Izzy by everybody else. She arrived in this world 2 weeks later than I expected. That was very fortunate, because I was playing cricket at Flinwell Cricket Ground on the day she was expected with this gentleman here. And we were playing a load of Australians, and for that night we had about 30 people for dinner. So she was born, and she was always a very bonny baby, and now she's grown into this beautiful young woman we see before us today. Obviously, she got all her good looks from me. Living in this beautiful, what I regard as a beautiful idyllic spot, allowed Isabel to develop a love of nature. Now, I've always had a collection of wildfowl since I was a small boy, and we had a rather large number of wildfowl once, and Isabel chose to be my sort of bird midwife, hatching the birds out and looking after them. So much so that she once had 2 hooper swans, cygnets, which she had hatched and then reared, and they would follow her everywhere. She even took them swimming in the swimming pool. Now, her love of travelling started probably when she was about 3 years old, when we went to Disney World. And we met up with a 90-year-old American distant relative of mine. And as we were leaving, Isabel said to Uncle Johnny, "I shall miss you," and his heart melted. On another occasion, myself and the 2 children were going skiing. So the plan was to drive down to Paris, catch the night sleeper to La Plan, and then go skiing. But unfortunately, when we got there, the French railways had gone on strike. So poor old Dad had to drive all the way down to La Plan. And about 3 o'clock, I was feeling a little weary. And so I thought I'd pull into one of the motorway service stations and have a rest. Just as I did this, the back seat woke up, said, "Come on, Dad, we've got to get a move on, we've got to get there." She then went back to sleep, of course. Now, I first met Chris about 2 years ago. He can relax, because I shan't be telling any nasty, embarrassing stories about him, but other people may have other thoughts about that. However, he is a man who waits for exactly the right moment. Last July, he asked me for Isabel's hand in marriage, to which I consented, so I was expecting an announcement very shortly. August came and went, nothing. September came and went, nothing. October, the beginning of October, I thought, well, has he changed his mind, or has he been rejected? And suddenly, on the 6th of October, the good news finally arranged that she finally accepted him after a romantic weekend in High Brooms in a shepherd's hut. And I should like to welcome Chris into the extended player family and now pass on my duty of care of my dear daughter to her loving husband. I'd like to thank all of you for coming here today on such a happy occasion to celebrate their marriage. The grounds of our house have never looked so tidy. As you quite rightly said, we have put an inordinate amount of work to try and spruce things up, guided by Isabel, telling me what she wanted and what she didn't want. I owe some thanks to Nigel for taking the bridesmaids and to Tim for lending us his Bentley. Now, I have one other little story to tell you about. When I was preparing for this wedding, I thought I'd better check the suit. So I had 1 or 2 morning suits that have been descended to me over the millennia, and so I put this suit on the chair, and the next day I was going to be playing golf at Ryde Golf Club. So I was leaving at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I put my blazer, which you have to wear at Ryde Golf Club if you have lunch in the place, otherwise you get thrown out. And so I picked up what I thought was my blazer off the stool and went to Ryde Golf Club, put on the jacket to get from the car park into the golf club. And as I got in the golf club, one of the members said to me, "You're a bit overdressed, aren't you?" And I had the tail suit on. Even for Ryde Golf Club, that was a bit overdressed. Now, a few words of advice on a happy marriage. Chris, you always remember the wife is always right, even when she's wrong. And finally, you want to always maintain a sense of humour. So would you all please charge your glasses and drink a toast to the happy couple of Isabel, Izzy and Chris.
Izzy, I give you this ring.
Izzy, I give you this ring.
As a sign of our marriage.
As a sign of our marriage.
With my body, I honour you.
With my body, I honour you.
And all that I am.
And all that I am.
I give to you.
I give to you.
And all that I have.
And all that I have.
I share with you.
I share with you.
Within the love of God.
Within the love of God.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
It is very hot, to be fair. That was absolutely fine, we've got there. Right. Izzy, would you like to take this? The appropriate number. And repeat after. Chris, I give you this ring.
Chris, I give you this ring
as a sign of our marriage.
as a sign of our marriage.
With my body, I honour you,
With my body, I honour you,
and all that I am,
and all that I am,
I give to you,
I give to you,
and all that I have,
and all that I have,
I share with you.
I share with you,
Within the love of God,
within the love of God,
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
I don't wanna go anywhere if it's not with you. You know I would go anywhere if you asked me to. Holding on so fast to the love, to the love. If I got you, then I got enough. Never gonna wanna give you up, give you up. So come on over, come and pick me up. Driving down avenues, dreaming of life with you. Got all our time to lose. My sky's on fire for you. Feels like we levitate. Looking at me that way. Got all our time to lose. Let me get lost with you.
On behalf of my wife and me, I'd like to welcome you all to Keeper's Cottage to celebrate with us. We're so pleased to be sharing our special day with all our favourite people. A special mention to those who have made it here from abroad: Australia, Chile, Spain, Germany, Turkey, Holland, as well as Belfast and Edinburgh. It's great to see you all here. A few thank yous to all the choir who sang so beautifully earlier. Thank you for making Izzy, me, and both our mums cry that much harder. You were brilliant. Tim and Cindy, thanks so much for donating your beautiful Bentley to us, although sadly just for the day. My family. I count myself immensely lucky that I can turn to my family for a few blueprints of what successful marriages resemble. Sophie and Martin, Anna and Adam, and of course Mum and Dad. Thanks to you all for setting such great examples for me. Mum, Dad, thanks for your patience, advice, contributions to the wedding, and for welcoming the lovely Izzy to the family. And finally, a very special mention to my grandpa, Papa, who has kindly donated this marvellous waistcoat. Whenever I stay at Keeper's Cottage, I love how every family gathering ends, with me being beaten at croquet, and just as we're leaving, Caroline running after the car and shouting as we're driving away, trying in vain to offload the entirety of her fridge into the back of the car. You haven't simply allowed 125 people to invade your house, which on its own would be an act of incredible generosity. You've given everybody an extra special welcome. Since I caught Peter watering the garden in July last year to warn him of my plan to marry Izzy, he and Caroline have worked tirelessly and incessantly to make Keeper's Cottage and the gardens look like the fairy tale it does today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I feel incredibly blessed to now officially call myself a bit of a player. And part of the family. So please raise a glass to Caroline and Peter. Becca. You are the pivot around which Izzy and I met. We'll soon discover that Izzy's and my relationship was not love at first, second, or even third sight. But when Izzy got cold feet after a brief spark finally emerged, it was your words of, at least give the guy a chance, that meant we're here today. So thank you, Becca. Before moving in with Izzy, we'd met twice before. Once at Becca's 21st, when apparently I fancied one of her friends. And once again in 2015, when she thought I was dating the girl I'd arrived with, Katrina. So in September, when we became housemates, we knew of each other, but certainly didn't know each other that well. It took a while for her to understand my sense of humour, my excitement over Greg's breakfasts, and my unhealthy obsession with pork scratchings. But after explaining why I needed to laugh at my own jokes, it seemed that we had become friends. As time went on, Izzy and I began to spend more time together. We started to invite each other to other friends' birthdays, go on walks, go out for brunch, and generally really enjoy each other's company. As is typical when a single man and a single lady spend a lot of time together, you get a few comments from those on the outside. Some are subtle. Is she just your housemate? And some, James Mantle, a little more direct. Well, why don't you just crack on? But about a week before James made this bold statement, I'd actually started to consider this for myself. Having been on a Monday evening hinge date, indeed the graveyard shift, I'd met what you might call a dud. She opted for half a pint of tap water, didn't laugh at any of my jokes, and looked only slightly like her photos. Perhaps she was thinking the same as me. Just one tap water down, we went our separate ways. To raise my spirits on the way back, I decided to play one of my favourite games, an Uber Eats race. My prowess at the game meant that the delivery driver and I arrived home at exactly the same time. He handed me my McNuggets, and I ended up having a lovely chat with Izzy that evening, which in my mind was the perfect date.
I am reliably informed by my own family that one day in 1997 I returned home from school to announce that there had been a new boy there that day, and that he was a bit odd. He called himself Nibs, was obsessed with ducks, and would start spontaneously quacking like one whenever the fancy took him. 25 years later, and while you don't quack as much as you used to, I'd simply make the point that first impressions count. Despite all this, we began to get to know the boy behind the eccentricities. Good at sports, funny, unfailingly naughty, and with a pre-teenage temper that could lay waste to an entire household. For all the time that I've known him, though, one of Chris's most defining yet understated characteristics is his stoicism. Personal or public, self-induced or imposed, he is one of the only people I know whose unfailing response to any manner of catastrophe is simply, oops. Then one day in 2019, we met at a pub in Putney, and Chris asked whether his flatmate could join him. "She's cool," he said. Chris had been single for a little while, and I considered what he meant by this. Izzy arrived, and despite the fact that we hadn't seen each other in a long time, Chris seemed unusually distracted. Izzy began to appear at a few more social events, and Chris seemed increasingly distracted. Here's how I remember it. Eventually that Christmas, after an evening drinking Cointreau in a piano bar, he revealed that he had made romantic overtures to Izzy. "That's great," I said. "How did it go?" He said, "She cried, but I think it'll be okay." Obvious understatements aside, it has been more than okay. Life since then has taken you both in a number of directions, from isolated lockdowns on the Kentish coast to busy shared flats in London, from co-opting someone else's dog as your own to remote holidays across the world. You've thrived through it all and built a life together, and it came as little surprise when you eventually popped the question. Nibs, I remember that your granddad Buello once gave you a copy of the Kipling poem If, full of good advice for a young man setting out in life, and you've followed much of it. That said, I'm not sure if it's what Kipling was really getting at when he talked about meeting with triumph and disaster, but Izzy, I think you're in safe hands as long as Nibs' response to both simply remains, oops. And with that, I'd like to ask you to join me in a toast to the bride and groom.
I don't wanna go anywhere if it's not with you. me to.
I finally had her convinced. This is amazing.
Come on, everyone, on your feet!
Izzy, I actually think that's my alarm. Can you check inside my? I think it's just that. Yeah. It is. It's my alarm. Yeah.